What is up, everybody? Apologies for the delays. We're going to get our third guest in here real fast. We had some technical difficulties this morning. There's Mr. Chris Carlin. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today?
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Welcome, guys. Of course, to episode 300. We should be right here on Bench Clear Media. So make sure to drop any comments.
This is a milestone.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Shows.
Yeah, episode number 300. So there's Abel, a bunch of other people. Sorry, guys, we don't know exactly what happened before, but we are here. Welcome, everybody. It is episode 300, milestone of the show. It feels weird to even be at 300. I remember starting this show. Chris, I don't know. Were you with us from the very beginning?
I came in maybe 6 or 7 months afterwards.
That's what I thought.
Around the 40s or 50s, but
that's what I thought.
Been here a while, so
yeah, wonderful. Well, guys,
but it's pretty incredible the community that we have here of passionate hobbyists that have a lot to say and have some great opinions and great experience. So
it's
really special together.
One of the cool things just from being here from episode 1 till now is like you said, the amount of different people that have been here, both that have been on the show before and also, ones that have, have been, sorry, looking at the comments there, that are here now. There's a lot of passionate hobbyists that have done a ton of awesome stuff, here on the show. We are thankful to you guys, of course, for helping us make it to episode 300. Unfortunately, for episode 300, my computer decided to crap out on me. So hopefully we'll have video most of the day today for myself. If not, we will work with just audio. And guys, you are more than welcome to call in and join the show. I'm going to drop the link in the chat here in just a moment. But guys, why don't we get started? And Chris, you had mentioned something right before we got on the air that I figured we could.
You're going to have to do Carlin or Harris today, Drew.
Yeah.
What's that?
You're going to have to do Carlin or Harris today because we're both like, huh?
Yeah, good call. Yes. Chris Harris. You had mentioned something right before we started the show about Wemby and his Topps card setting a record.
Yeah.
Give a little background on what exactly is going on there, because there's a couple of different things I do want to touch on regarding that.
So the Topps Now created a card of Victor Wembanyama celebrating his Rookie of the Year award. And it actually set the single card record of, I think it's over 114,000 copies.
Wait, Chris. Are you telling me there's more of those cards than the Eclipse?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, there are.
Yep.
More than
the hot dogs? Yeah.
More than the
hot
guy.
dogs, more than Bernie Sanders, more than Bartolo Colon, more than those.
Been some good Topps Now cards over the years.
Yeah. And to think, this isn't even a fully NBA licensed card either. Imagine if it was.
I will say, though, for it not being a fully licensed card, one thing Topps is doing, which I think is brilliant, and this card's included, and they've done it with other Topps Now releases and other Wemby releases, they're really doing a good job of making sure when they put out a card, at least of Wemby, I can give you a bunch of examples where they didn't do the best, but they've done a really good job being able to hide that it's not fully licensed, that they can't use that Spurs logo. Like, the cards look phenomenal. All that I've seen have been excellent creative ideas of, showcasing him not still being fully licensed, and judging by those numbers, a lot of collectors don't seem to care.
Yeah, I think the imagery they use is good, great. It's powerful. You see the emotion of the athlete, and in those instances, you can sneak in a card like that without customers really caring that much, because it celebrates a milestone, looks good, and he's definitely the hot rookie this year. So all those things together make a pretty darn good card.
Yep. Now, what do you guys think? Was he robbed for Defensive Player of the Year? He obviously got Rookie of the Year. I'm under the impression he was completely robbed for Defensive Player of the Year. If you look at every metric known to man, he basically was leading it. This kind of felt like a Lifetime Achievement Award for Rudy, because so many great defenders like Giannis and people like that were winning it years before. Yeah. I do think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year, but I also had prop bets that relied on that, so I'm probably a little biased. But
yeah, I think sometimes writers are reluctant to put on too much for an athlete, and just kind of the way they are. So
yeah. Well, actually, Mike Petty, thank you for putting on everything at the shop. But he has right here, it's something that we were going to discuss, that $2 million, I guess we can move into that. We'll come back to Topps, because there was a couple other things that Topps did that I definitely want to discuss. But some of the big news of the day, I guess, guys, we'll move right along to it. Strongsville robbed $2 million worth of stuff. What do you guys think about all this? I guess they were sending it to a card show, from my understanding, to a hotel. They had video of it arriving at the hotel. They seemed to have every confirmation that it was at the hotel, and then it was lost. So what do you guys think about all this? And Chris, I know you've dealt personally with, at least in the past, I'm sure, of being around moving a lot of merchandise and having to coordinate some of that stuff. So, I mean, what do you guys think about all this? And because it was obviously targeted. I mean, this had to have been targeted.
Yeah, I think when you're shipping things to a hotel, you're asking for trouble. Yeah. The biggest thing I ship to a hotel these days is it is, maybe something from Amazon, but shipping premium cards to a hotel, I think you're asking for trouble. But I'm nervous about putting things in the mail. I just, in the States, you see it be an issue where, in this day and age, people are taking things. So you got to be careful on how you package items and what you put on the outside, and how they're declared and where they're sent. So, I mean, I wish I could say it's common sense, but for dealers, if you have premium cards, you carry those with you. At PSA, we don't let cards leave our site in most cases. So once they come in, they're tracked and monitored throughout the process. And I'm kind of shocked that someone would send something so premium to a hotel like that.
Yeah, that's what I was most blown away from too. Is it not only that it was other people's items. It was their auction for their upcoming, their live auction that they wanted to showcase. Like I mean, we ship stuff when we do shows all the time, like big time stuff, and we carry all the big time stuff normally with us. But I mean, we have shipped a lot of stuff, but shipping to a hotel is just, I mean, you're absolutely asking for it at that point. But that's a really extreme lack of care for customer items. Like, I mean, if you're trying to establish yourself with a reputation and you're trying to, I don't know, build a successful business, that's not something that's going to give. I would be shocked if anyone ever sent anything to them again, at least high end. That's pretty dangerous thing to do.
Agreed. First of all, I hope they have insurance on this.
I think they do.
So, second of all,
going through insurance on collectibles is never easy with shipping carriers. And the values are always highly disputed, and there's a lot of back and forth, and it's never as easy. It takes a long time as well. That's one of the suckiest parts about insurance on shipped items is getting resolution for a claim is not an overnight process in any way, shape, or form, and then you're fighting tooth and nail for every penny. So there are a variety of other services that people use, courier services. It costs more, but cheap items, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, we deal with that with Gem Mint with our PSA submission service. We have separate insurance completely outside of FedEx and everything else. Now those are very hard to do,
yeah,
and when they have to pay out claims, a lot of times they don't want to end up renewing you. So if you do
yeah,
have to pay out those claims, it makes it even more difficult. We deal with that every year when it comes to just outside insurance for the Gem Mint process. So I can only imagine an auction house, is going through the same type of stuff. So it's like you said, it is more expensive. But yeah, I hope they had insurance on it. I'm sure they did. This was a pretty large haul, like you said, around $2 million. I think they said it was like 16 items or something like that. So wasn't a bunch of $50 slabs here. We're looking at some pretty iconic and massive cards that were gone. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Any other thoughts on the Strongsville robbery or anything along those lines?
well, I would say we probably haven't seen the last of it. Like,
Yeah.
these cards are going to come back up again, and where will they be found? And this industry is so niche, as big as it's gotten. It's still very mom and pop in many ways, where known cards are easy to find again, and
Yes.
it's easy to find someone selling them on eBay or at some show. And yeah, I don't think this story's done.
Yeah. If I were an auction house and if I were displaying 2 million cards, $2 million worth of cards at a card show, I think next time I'd probably rent a van and take it there myself rather than trust FedEx or some concierge at a $60 a night Best Western.
Yeah. No, I would absolutely agree with you there. And Chris, I think you're correct. I don't think we've seen the last of this. It's no secret. People know how valuable collectibles are in this industry. Chris Carlin, excuse me, I keep saying Chris, and I'll just address both of you all day long. But I don't think you're going to see the end of it. We saw the quote unquote fake Wembies that were caught at the border, people that are counterfeiting stuff. So the outside world, the criminal world, whatever you want to call it, is very aware of the value of collectibles. And now you see bigger card shows, you see more stuff advertised, where stuff is. You see at many shows, at the Culture Collision and multiple other shows, there have been coordinated thefts that have gone on lately. Nothing that was massive, at least to this scale, that people know of, but a lot of stuff that has been taken, even some of them being children that are doing it. So in terms of big time stuff, especially with all these new shows that are coming out now, and that maybe the security and the people running it aren't so, used to doing security, things like that, you don't really know. So I definitely don't think this is the end of it, especially when it comes to
bigger
stuff
than just cards too.
Yes.
I work closely on the coin side of the business with PCGS, and there's a lot of thefts, coordinated thefts and robberies that are happening in the coin and banknote business. Some of them as devious as going around the show, finding dealers that are out of town, following them to their car and noticing which car it is. The next day they'll place a tracker on that car, follow them out of town, wait for them to stop for gas or something, smash and grab, and then take those items. So these types of burglaries and robberies and the values tied with collectibles these days are why we're seeing a increase in vaulting services. When I go outside of the United States and I talk about vaulting services, they're like, "Huh? Like, why would I do that? Everything's safe here." Whether it be Canada or South Korea or Japan, but here in the States, these types of issues continuing to come up over and over and over again make people very fearful about keeping items in their home. And I've got some items behind me, but it's not my good stuff. My good stuff's stored in the PSA vault. So I think that it's making people think a lot more about those types of services with more stories like this we see.
Oh, absolutely. I know if I have anything that's at that type of value, it's definitely going to PSA Vault or somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
It's not staying just at my house. You know,
Yeah.
there's absolutely no way, even though I live literally in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, people, it's even easier to find
Easier,
for some
yeah.
people, you know? So it's, I agree. I think the vaulting services, this does show, you know, a very good reason why you should use those services in that type of stuff. I think, you know, having it just at your house or in a safe or at the bank or something like that may not be the best. And, you know, the vaulting services also give you a lot of, you know, option in terms of moving it. If it's not a card you plan on keeping, then you definitely, in my opinion, would vault it, because why take the chance of losing it when you can have it safe and secure and then move it when you move it?
Yeah, the path to liquidity on vaulting services is
Yeah.
getting easier and easier, you know.
Mhm.
So I think that's something that a lot of companies in the vaulting biz are looking to give customers access to and to unlock.
Yeah.
Welcome, Logan. Glad you made it
Yes.
over
What's
to
up,
the
Logan?
stream.
What's up, Logan? Happy 300th. Logan, one of the OGs as well. Mike Petty, everyone, thank you guys. Jeff Card Journey and everyone else, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Once again, episode 300. But yeah, so $2 million card theft. Well, hopefully we don't have to report on this stuff happening again. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll see where they go from there. But I wanted to go back. We were talking on top stuff before with Wemby, but beyond Wemby, that they had announced something this week that I think is pretty cool, and I wanted to touch on. And Chris Carlin, you actually put this in the group chat the other day, but Topps talking about expanding their Rip Nights. Looks like we're going to get a much bigger, both in terms of actual events and the amount of events that Topps is going to be bringing to the community with their Rip Nights. Chris Carlin, I guess I'll let you bring out what have you heard, you know, so far on what their plans are regarding this year with Rip Nights.
Yeah, so one thing I think I hoped for when Michael Eisner bought Topps was there would be this big, he's going to bring in celebrities and all this other stuff, and it's going to be, you know, he's really going to raise the tides for the hobby, and we just didn't see much of that. But we are seeing it with a Michael Rubin led Topps and Fanatics, and the putting on 26 events all on the same night, you know, is a pretty tricky prospect. Working in events, as long as I know that something's going to go wrong, right? Like there's just things are going to go wrong. Athletes aren't going to show up. They're going to miss a flight or something along those lines. But word is coming out of the Topps Industry Summit was that they wanted to, and you've heard a lot about 10xing with Topps and Fanatics, but they want to 10x those Rip Night events. And if you see the amount of people coming out of those events, and it's very much like a National Baseball Card Day or National Hockey Card Day where there's tremendous interest and excitement. They want to 10x that and do 260 simultaneous events for the Rip Nights. And he doesn't know if he's going to be able to do that. And obviously it's a massive undertaking. But these events are doing two things that are super impactful. One, it's engaging that existing audience. It's the thank you for collecting. Thank you for believing in us. But the other thing it's getting to that mass audience. When you have 26 coordinated events with huge athletes all on the same night, it's getting that mass attention to the media and huge exposure for the category. Come collect trading cards with Tom Brady and Kevin Durant. Like, how does that not sound awesome? So say what you want about a lot of the things that Topps or Fanatics have done. I think that this particular campaign is special because it starts at hobby shops, and that really, at the end of the day, there are some things that have been done to make hobby shops a little more cookie cutter, but that's the best part about visiting hobby shops is they're all different. And I think we should celebrate the differences in those shops. And I think it's really cool that Topps is pushing an event like this that drives traffic to those shops.
No, I completely agree. And one of my favorite things is they don't just go to the shops that you see on Instagram every single day. They hit a lot of a lot of small shops. I know they hit a shop in the town in North Carolina that almost no one knows about except for the card shop. They really do go to a lot of the shops that, are following the blueprint that they laid out and said, hey, if you do this, then, you're going to be a part of it. But yeah, coordinating all those events has got to be almost impossible. I couldn't imagine it, considering I know how much effort it takes to run one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see, and it's something that I've thought we've needed for a long time, is really ramping up trade nights, because trade nights can only be so much when the actual shop is putting it on, depending on the shop. But when you get Tops involved like this, you can do some absolutely incredible stuff. And Michael Rubin's really taking advantage and leveraging his relationships with some really high-powered athletes like, Tom Brady at a trading event, not just Tom Brady, but
never in a million years did I think I'd see Tom Brady showing up at a hobby shop, like a million years.
Yep.
So,
and
cool.
And all those relationships that he does have, I can imagine that, these could get to be some pretty big things. And I'm excited to see what 10xing it looks like and everything to them. That's going to be interesting, but I think it's cool. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Not to sound contrarian here.
Here we go.
Sure.
You gotta have a counterbalance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to expand this by 10x from 26 to 260. How many athletes are out there that are going to want to do this or can do this? And obviously you can't send Tom Brady to 260 hobby shops in one night. I know the local-ish card shop that I go to, Bel Air Sports Cards, Bel Air, Maryland. They had Daryl Strawberry for their hobby rip night.
Shout out Mel. Awesome shop.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, Chris. There's no shortage of retired players.
No.
Rookies are.
But then how do you coordinate that, though? Because obviously you're going to have some representative from Fanatics to Wrangler to coordinate these events, pick them up from the airport. That's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. Doing one well is a lot.
Yes.
Doing 26 was pretty dang impressive. But it wasn't just athletes, having who's the comedian that they had?
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think there's other opportunities to have actors, actresses, comic book artists, things along those lines.
Well,
so
NIL, I think they'll leverage their NIL as well. I think that's going to be something really big. There's a lot they could do if they really want to shell out some plane tickets. And it looks like they just took over Premier League, so you got some more soccer players you could use if you needed to as well. But yeah, it is going to be interesting to see if all of them are some of the rip nights going to be bigger than others, or obviously some shops are going to get bigger, guests than the others. Yeah. But yeah, ramping it up that much, we'll see how it goes. That's going to be interesting.
Now, Logan, Chris, I don't know if that was a happy signal or a signal. What are your thoughts on the Premier League news?
Yeah.
That they're going back to Tops?
Yeah.
I'm not all that surprised. I mean, Fanatics is trying to conquer the world, and this is just another license to them, I think. So.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed they didn't get PBR this week,
Oh, that's coming,
Sorry guys, looks like the camera did die. As expected, but we will.
So the one I was referencing is professional bull riding, and Leafs taking a crack at that. And it's interesting, even bowling that they've done, while super niche sports, there will be a following for it. So it'll be interesting to see, fledgling sports like lacrosse or, pickleball, are all these tertiary sports, but there's still a following, and it's interesting. I don't hate seeing things like this because it exposes people who didn't have cards to the category. And I know, just from seeing my kids' collecting journey, they have to start off with Marvel or Disney before they graduate to baseball and hockey. I think that it's good, even though it seems to water down. Feels like to us that it's watering down the industry, but I think it's just expanding the reach of what we do.
No, I completely agree. Yes, Mike, I did get hit by a pitch. At least the camera did. I completely agree. I did think it was interesting they got the stickers. Stickers was a little shocking to me, as that's kind of been Panini's bread and butter for a long time. And so to see them get the stickers, that was really shocking to me, because that's the one thing I thought Panini would always try and hold on to.
Yeah.
So it's a little interesting to see that move going. What do you got? What does this do to Panini? Because, I mean, the stickers, people didn't really know this a lot, but that was a big part of their business. The stickers, the soccer stickers are, I mean, I'd say still probably over 50%, I would assume. And so losing those stickers, I mean, what do you guys think that does for Panini?
Well, Chris, I'm really curious your thoughts on this, because whenever there's a licensing change for trading cards, it's one thing, right? But the Panini sticker books are so instilled in the fiber of soccer collectors all over the world. Yeah, I'm really curious your take on how you think.
The thing is that for the longest time, the English Premier League and before that, the Football League, their stickers were handled by a company called Merlin.
Yep.
And Merlin kind of got bought out by Topps, I think, in the early 2000s. So Panini, I mean, they still have the FIFA license.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're still going to make every 4 years the World Cup sticker book. They're still going to make the European Championship sticker book. I think they still have some of the other domestic European leagues, like the Italian league stickers, the Spanish league stickers, the French league stickers. I think Topps has the Bundesliga, but they don't do stickers for that. But yeah, I mean, this is just getting back to where the license was before Panini took it over 5 or 6 years ago, going back to Topps. So I don't think, I don't think it's really that. It's getting back to where it used to be. So.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with you that a couple people have asked in the chat here, do you think that we'll see Topps get the NHL card hunter ass? Will Fanatics ever get the NHL license? Will that ever be pried away from Upper Deck? What do you guys think?
I don't see it happening anytime soon. I speak with some inside knowledge there. I don't think so. I think just having worked for Upper Deck during the heyday when they had all the licenses, it was hard to give the NHL the attention it deserved. And but at Upper Deck, NHL was very important to the company, so we did. I think the NHL and NHLPA talk enough to hobby shops and look at what collectors are saying, that they understand that it's probably best to be with Upper Deck right now, who is giving them full and complete attention. But it's clear that Fanatics right now clearly has their crosshairs on Panini and not Upper Deck, and it'll be interesting to see if they ever turn their crosshairs that way.
I think you're right about how the NHL doesn't want to be, fourth or fifth priority in trading cards. they're happy with Upper Deck. Upper Deck does a really good job. And, speaking as a professional antitrust economist, I don't think Fanatics wants the NHL because they don't want to be seen as having all of the sports, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
I think that's all I should probably say about that. So I don't want to get in trouble with my employer. So.
Yep. No, Card Hunter actually asked right here, why is Upper Deck protected? I heard ownership contracts or something along those lines.
I wanted to say they're protected. They just have a
Yeah.
long-standing agreement with the PA and the NHL, and then other really strong relationships like with the NHL Alumni Association. And there's other things in play that you don't probably think about, that UD has long-term exclusive deals with players like Wayne Gretzky and Connor McDavid.
Yes.
And how do you start trading cards if you can't include those people? Oh,
Right.
and also, how about the fact that they have relationships with Tim Hortons, who is now doing 2 massive trading card campaigns through them per year that are generating a lot of revenue for the NHL and expanding the reach of collecting. So it's not like they're doing a bad job. And I think that, I mean, why would you change something that's working?
Yep. No, I completely agree. I think a lot of it comes from people knowing that, Fanatics does have the jersey license, but the jersey license and the collectibles license is 2 very different things. And that's just something I don't see,
Well, the other thing that people don't think about is the NHL got a glimpse at what a dual license situation could be like with Panini and Upper Deck simultaneously for a little bit. And there's things they really don't like about that. And one is there's a cadence for how cards come out. It usually starts off with low end and rises to the high end by the end of the year, when they can get more hard signed autographs and things like that. And then there's spacing out of releases. But when there's 2 manufacturers going at it, they're putting out releases on the same day. They're trying to put out a premium product earlier when it maybe wasn't fully baked. And then, it's how do they handle things at events, and is there synergy there? So there's a myriad of things that go into overall decisions on licensing. Usually it's who's going to pay more. But at the end of the day, I'm happy to see that the NHL definitely looks at the health of the market and talks to hobby shops and listens to what collectors are saying out there.
Yeah. No,
and license and leagues and players associations have also figured out that card companies are willing to pay a premium to be an exclusive license.
Yeah.
So NHL is probably making more money on trading cards now than they did when there were 2, or even, I don't know, 20 years ago when there were like 5 or 6 licenses. So.
Yeah, and some of that's helped by Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
It's crazy some of the prices we're seeing for upcoming Upper Deck releases, especially SP Authentic, seeing some of those right now. Holy cow, it's a product that was traditionally, $150, maybe $200, and now it's over $500 a box. So it's pricing a lot of collectors who've always collected SP Authentic out of the market a bit. But it's, again, I think it's one of those situations where card collectors will invariably go to where the hot rookie is, and they'll jump sports sometimes. So if it's one of those generational players, you definitely see that. So Bedard checks that box. Wembanyama checks that box. Football was a little light this year, but there's some good stars in baseball for sure right now too. So it's a pretty good time to be a collector.
It is, but I will say though, hockey is it's a very niche market, and a lot of people, Chris Carlin, this, that the people that really go after hockey hardcore, they're diehard collectors. It's not as much sold as a buying and flip game, till you get these Connor Bedards, and so I know most hockey collectors are going to understand why the prices have jumped, this year and everything, but hopefully they don't, lose some people and they bring these prices back down to earth and, don't continue to try and keep them where they are when we don't have a Berdard and a Carlson to back them up and things like
Yeah,
that.
because that's tricky. Unlike other sports like football and basketball in particular, hockey is built by a lot of set collectors actually. So
Yes.
and different player collectors. So it's just a little bit different than the rip and flip type style you see with basketball and football in particular.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Abel in Vegas asks, with hockey, will Fanatics have an opportunity with prospect hockey cards through NIL with college programs? I would assume they probably would if they wanted to. I don't know. I guess if they're a college prospect, then
yeah, it's
they
tricky. Upper Deck owns the licensing rights for cards for Hockey Canada, which is where most of the top young kids come through for CHL and AHL. So they would need to go with a Team USA type program or something like that if they wanted to dive into that. And traditionally, unfortunately, the American players don't command the same type of values as Canadian-born or even international players.
Yep.
I think if there was a market for college hockey cards, I think Topps would have made them by now. So,
yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, most prospects really, a lot of them don't come out really of college. They're going to be looked at more in the juniors programs and a lot of overseas stuff as well. You do have obviously a lot of people that come from college, but that's not where I think a lot of them would be looking. And like you said, Chris, if there was a market for it, I think of Topps Fanatics probably would have already attacked it by now if they thought it was worthwhile. Let's see. We got Foul Ball says Upper Deck stays are numbered. Bob Boozle says stay in your lane and off the ice Topps. I don't know about Upper Deck stays being numbered. I think Upper Deck's going to do just fine with whatever they want to put out. They seem to have what they like, and they've got those lifetime exclusives with a lot of athletes, and those exclusives with some of the biggest athletes ever. So I don't see them going under anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that hockey is a niche sport and Marvel's niche and esports are niche. But I've seen some of the numbers on how much they're making and the that it's being consumed by collectors. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think Upper Deck's gonna be around for a while longer for sure. But I'm a little biased.
So
I think we might have lost Drew.
Drew? Okay.
All right, we'll fly.
Anyway, I want to answer a question that Victor posted. How is Fanatics able to do hockey stickers? Now, I think for the last couple of years, Fanatics under the Topps Now brand has made fully licensed stickers printed to demand like Topps Now.
Yeah.
And I understand the loophole is that the stickers are actually slightly oversized from a 2.5 by 3.5 inch trading card. They're kind of like 3 by 4. And it's kind of almost like the same loophole that Upper Deck had when you guys, I know you don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
You remember that basketball set that was on those wooden tiles?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Supreme hardcourt.
Yeah.
So
it's
there
not
are
trading card
around
set, but it's
I think it's awesome when companies are innovative that way, and the leagues love it because it generates revenue.
It's extra revenue,
for a new category, right? So Supreme Hardcourt was one where Upper Deck tried to make a different type of collectible, and they did it under the Upper Deck authenticated umbrella, which was smart because it didn't come off as a trading card, even though those hunks of wood quite collectible and really dang cool. Where it's the first time I've ever seen printing on a substrate like that, which is actually game used wood. And it was rather interesting. One of the behind the scenes stories of that product was there were a lot of nails in that floor, and taking it apart so it could be cut without chopping into nails and things along those lines was a bit of an issue, where they had to kind of solve that because it was the first of its kind type of collectible. So I love when companies are forced to innovate out of the fact that these contracts in place.
Yeah.
So but stickers are considered a different category than trading cards as well. So it is a way where a company can dip their toe in the water with a license and see if their fan base has interest in it, support for it, and kind of make a determination from there when renegotiations for the next license take place.
Beautiful answer. Sorry, guys. Got like I said, lots of audio issues today, but we are
No
here,
worries.
back in the Matrix.
No worries.
All right, so let's see. Logan Ward actually says that Fanatics will hire away the major talent from Upper Deck. Well, they kind of already did that with Panini, taking most of their talent. I mean, there's only so much they're going to need, and I think Upper Deck's pretty good, but I mean, we'll see. We shall see. Foul Ball says they're going to find a way to put Upper Deck out of business. But once again, I guess we will see. But one question here from the Card Hunter. Anyone going to Fanatics Fest? So Chris will be there. Chris Garland will be there. Chris Harris, what about you?
Well, it's funny that somebody mentions Fanatics Fest, because my latest column for Hobby News Daily, I mentioned this, and I'm still trying to figure out what this is. Is it a card show?
Right.
Or is it like an all-star game fan fest kind of thing?
Well, they said at the Topps conference, I know Michael Rubin, I think it's not a direct quote, but he said he wanted it to be like the Coachella for the card industry. So that makes it, I guess, even more vague.
What does that mean? Does that mean Tom Brady's going to sing?
Right. I have no idea.
What are these athletes going to be doing at this? Before I put down my $50 for a ticket, I want to know what I'm getting into. And I'm from what I understand, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And I do find it kind of interesting. Go ahead, Drew.
What's that? No, I think you're probably about to ask the exact same thing. So go right ahead.
This is taking place the same week as the East Coast National. Yes. I find that kind of not a coincidence.
No, not at all. It's taking place right after the East Coast National. It's taking place right after the National. I mean, this is definitely a coordinated effort, in my opinion.
I disagree a little bit, but let me be the dissenting voice, where I think when you're trying to get a major venue like the Javits Center, like there's only a certain number of dates, and they're trying to be cognizant of the National Sports Collectors Convention for sure. But I don't see Fanatics as being the type that's like, we got to take out the East Coast National, like I don't think that's.
Well, they've kind of taken over everything else in trading cards. Yeah. Why not card shows?
Yeah, well, their Fanatics events team is growing, right? And there are going to be more of these in regions that are not New York, So I could definitely see international versions of these shows coming too. So we'll have to see how the first ones go. But I imagine it'll be different. I imagine it'll be unique, and it's a really wild time in our industry. I think there's going to be books and movies written about this period, because it's the likes of which we haven't seen before. So, and it's weird seeing so many new collectors and fans getting involved in the category, but it's kind of cool too. I like seeing the efforts that so many people have made to grow this category over the years actually bearing fruit. So, I don't know. I'm going into it with an open
I
mind.
also heard about some of the other markets that Fanatics wants to go to with this. One is Pittsburgh, which is a great sports town, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere down south, they haven't determined that yet. But
well, they'd be smart to hit somewhere in the southeast, like the Atlanta area, somewhere around there, because that market's exploding as well. But really, every market is right now. But it is going to be interesting to see what it's going to be. I mean, nobody really knows at this moment. A lot of speculation going on in the chat. MD Sports Card says that they are literally laying the groundwork for a Collecticon type show across the nation. As someone who works every single Collecticon, I agree. It does look like that's what they're laying the groundwork for. They'd be smart to follow the Collecticon model on that. Collecticon makes it much more than just a card show. It's much more an event with a lot.
Well, did we lose them again?
We might have, but yeah, I agree with that event, and I think, however, the first one looks, the 20th one will look much different, right? So they'll fine tune and tweak and try to find the right recipe to make it sing. But it's good to give collectors another option, right? You know, another type of event where, you know, there's things that it doesn't always have to be the same type of show. One thing I tell my team is I don't want to run the same show twice. Like it's not, I don't like the rinse and repeat model that companies get into at events. Try something new, try to engage fans in different ways, and try to come up with something fun or innovative that you can put your name on that's unique at an event. So whether it be big or small. So I think that they're going at it with that same mindset, but we'll see. Yeah. Orlando was the other one they were talking about in November. So
yeah, no, I agree. We'll find out, I guess, soon what it's going to be. All right, let's see. We'll check through the comments here as we get close to wrap-up time. Chris Harris, you had mentioned there was something else you'd wanted to touch on for your time?
Yeah, it happens to involve the greatest MLS team in the world, the Philadelphia Union. I will be attending their home game, as I always do tonight. And they've just signed, get this, a 14-year-old kid who, let's just say, is the real deal. He's probably the best youth prospect in the world right now. And they made a deal with Manchester City, so he'll be playing for the Union for the next 3 or 4 years, and then when he turns 18, he goes off to Manchester City. So Kevon Sullivan, remember that name.
Okay.
So
I could see him getting some decent attention. That's a sweet deal. That gives a little more attention towards the MLS with Messi, you know, the attention that Messi's brought.
And that's the thing with MLS, and I try and bring this to the kind of soccer fans that kind of follow the big European leagues but look down on MLS. That it's a retirement league.
Yeah.
That it's a lot better than you think. And a lot of teams are developing players that are being sold off to Europe and are going to make up the bulk of our 2026 and 2030 World Cup team. So, they're getting their start here in MLS. So,
nice. Well, enjoy that game. What day did you say you were going? Tonight?
Tonight. We're playing Orlando. So.
All right, beautiful. All right, guys. Well, it is getting right there at that time.
I got one last thing I wanted to kind of talk about. Yes. Again, I know we mostly cover sports on this show, rightfully so, but in this category, the hobby is bigger than just sports collectibles, as I talked about coins or banknotes or another interesting aspect of it. But one thing we're seeing at PSA right now is a meteoric rise in a gaming property called One Piece. And for those of you who aren't aware of what One Piece is, It's basically a long-running manga series, anime series out of Japan about a little pirate kid who's trying to be the pirate king and find this legendary treasure, One Piece. There's a Netflix show on it that was #1 in I think like 37 countries. There is tons of cartoons on the property, but Bandai started producing One Piece cards a couple of years ago for a game that's pretty highly played right now, and there's a ton of interest in. PSA just announced we're doing an exclusive One Piece promo card in an upcoming PSA magazine this summer. And One Piece is something that I'm investing a lot in right now. I think it's one of those categories where there's a lot of opportunity for it long term, but there's so much interest to get in on it on the bottom right now, even though it's definitely ballooned. But to see One Piece become one of the top cards that PSA is grading for TCG, not just one of the top, it's #2 right now. It surpassed Yu-Gi-Oh!, it surpassed Dragon Ball Z, it surpassed Arcana. It's pretty crazy what's going on with the property.
That doesn't surprise me one bit as someone that works every Collecticon. We are asked more for One Piece than anything. We take in more One Piece than I think almost even Pokemon at some of the shows now.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's a massive, massive market. And like you said, if you're looking to get in on the ground floor, you can right now, because a lot of stuff you can get for very affordable, and they really are what everyone thought MetaZoo and all those other companies, they became what everyone thought MetaZoo and other ones were going to be. They've got what I think is always important on the TCG side. They've got the show associated with it, which helps because you get voice actors and a lot more you can do with the product outside of just the cards and getting the cards signed and appearances, things like that. So, I agree, but I had no idea it had actually jumped all the way up to #2.
And we just put out a pretty comprehensive guide on, intro to One Piece. So I'll share that on my Twitter today at Pete and Cavilla. But if you're wondering what the next thing is in the category, I believe it's definitely this. So it's worth taking a look at just get some foundational knowledge on what it is, what to look for, and why it's booming the way it is.
Yep. No, well, I completely agree with you there, and they've got some really cool looking cards too. They're pretty sweet. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll wrap up episode 300 of the show. Before we go, Chris, I know you said you're going to the game tonight. Anything else you'd like to?
I want to go off the board a little bit. I know this isn't sports card related, but a guy named Steve Albini passed away. He was a musician, record producer. A lot of the great alt rock and grunge albums of the 90s were produced by Steve Albini. I know the last Nirvana album was In Utero was produced by him. He produced the Pixies, PJ Harvey.
He produced everyone.
And a bunch and tons of bands that you never heard of.
Yep.
So Steve Albini, a guy who should have had a card in Allen and Ginter.
I completely agree. I actually got a chance to work with him at one of our recording sessions. Nothing that ever made actual production, but back in my musician days, got to actually work with him a couple of times. And amazing, amazing man. But I agree. Definitely should have had a card in Ginter or something. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I guess we will wrap up episode 300. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back, of course, every single Saturday at 11 a.m. with an all-new cast of characters. We'll be back next week. But until then, we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Happy 300.
Free world, folks.